board meeting of the DSD, and we will call this meeting to order. And Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Chairman Blackwell?
Here.
Vice Chairman Matheny?
Here.
Member Cooper?
Here.
Member Askew?
Here.
Member Trace?
Here.
Our first and only item on our agenda is a discussion and possible action regarding the Third Amendment to the agreement with Avex Homes, Stevens North property. And who will be presenting that?
I think, Mr. Mayor, this is Dan Manzares. I'll be happy to start it off as they pull up the floor. Thank you, sir. I'm waiting to see if that PowerPoint comes up.
Is this the night for glitches?
Sorry, sir.
I said, is this the evening for glitches?
It is. It is. And we'll certainly find out in the next few days about whether this communication media technology continues beyond the end of the month.
Yeah.
So, well, I can probably run through this without a PowerPoint. If we can't pull this up here in a second. Okay. Well, if you like, Mr. Chairman,
Why don't you go ahead and proceed?
Okay.
Doesn't look like it's going to come up.
All righty, I will do that. So the item before you tonight is the Third Amendment to the agreement with Avex Homes for the sale of the Stevens North property. As you will recall, there we go.
There it goes. It came up.
And we can go to the slide before that, please, Kathy. Well, and as you will recall, this agreement was entered back into March 13th of 2020, and for the 143 acres that makes up the Stevens North property. At that time, the agreement was entered into with a purchase price of $4,650,000. Avex Homes agreed to buy it and then to essentially move through a fairly quick inspection and due diligence period. After the last Dependent Special District Board meeting, we were approached by Avex Homes and their representatives, and they requested a reduction of the $4,650,000 purchase price. The reason for their reduction was they had two environmental studies done and had made a determination that the anticipated buildable acres for the project, which has always been about 100 acres, was actually considerably lower than that. The two estimates provided that the buildable acres probably was about 21 to 27 acres lower than the anticipated 100 acres, making it approximately 73 to 79 buildable acres on the project. With that information, they requested a reduction of about $1.2 million off of the purchase price, requesting that it be reduced from $4,650,000 to $3,450,000. With that information in hand, we approached the Stevens Plantation bondholders, and after much discussion with them and their legal counsel, the bondholders have now agreed to a release of the A bonds that are on the property. As you will recall, the March 13th, 2020 agreement with Avex provides that the B bonds will be paid at the closing. However, the CDDA bonds will survive the closing and they would become an obligation of the new property owner. The bondholders now have agreed to waive that amount, which totals about $1.22 million on the property, and they've agreed to do that. And the buyer has agreed to accept that in lieu of a reduction of the purchase price. So the third amendment that's before you tonight essentially provides that the CDDA bonds would be released at the closing, or that the purchase price will be reduced by $1.22 million. We have spoken with bond counsel for the Stevens CDD bonds and for the trustee. We spoke with them earlier today, and they're confident that we can move forward and we can have the documents that establish these A bonds will be released in very short order. However, at the request of the buyer, they obviously want to make sure that they are protected either way. And so in the unlikely event that the A bonds would not be released at closing, then the purchase price would be reduced by $1.22 million, which, though that term is also agreeable to the bondholders. The amendment also extends the time for closing conditions to about 240 days from the effective date. That basically puts it to about the end of October, and it finally provides that the closing would occur within 15 days after those closing conditions are approved. The closing conditions are the approval of conceptual master plan or concept plan for the project, and the approval by of a developer's agreement / mobility fee credit for the connector road that's been part of this project from the very beginning. Those two items, obviously, as you're well aware, would have to be approved by the City Council, and we anticipate having those back in front of the City Council at your October 22nd meeting. So if all goes well, we anticipate that the project would stay on track to close approximately sometime by the middle of November. So tonight we are asking for the approval of the third amendment to the contract, and that would provide for the terms that are on your screen. And we are happy to answer any questions that you might have this evening. Mr. Marks, the president of AVEX Homes, is on the phone, I believe, or is able to answer any questions also. Again, as you all know, these transactions with regard to the Stevens Plantation are essentially designed, and at this point, to try to recover as much money on behalf of the bondholders as possible. And again, the bondholders have agreed to this term, and they are satisfied with it, and they have instructed us to advise the board that they would like the board to move forward with this proposed third amendment. So we're happy to answer any questions you may have. And again, Mr. Marks is available.
Does Mr. Marks want to speak to this item?
Hello, this is Eric Marks with AVEX Homes. I appreciate the summary that Mr. Manzares gave. He's, I think, done a good job. I'm here to answer questions if there are any, but I think he's, as I said, explained it all very well.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone online or in the chamber wanting to speak to this item?
There, we did have a Mr. Delgado sign up, but he realized after we contacted him that he actually wants to counsel citizens forum. So we don't have anyone in the audience or signed up at this time.
Thank you. Then I'll open it up for questions or discussion and a motion by the DSD board.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. Mr. Cooper, Councilman Cooper, would you like to speak?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Just a couple questions. Towards in our regular meeting here that's following, we're talking about Hastings Ranch, and we're looking at spending $5.7 million. I said a long time ago, I said, why don't we just go ahead and turn that money and buy right here this $3 million right now and just place it here instead of going out there to Hastings Ranch. It seems like it's closer. It's green space. You're looking for you're trading green space for green space. Everybody on this council says we need green space. We've got green space and we're going to sell it. for developers. That's what you want, is more developers. I'm saying right here, we've got it here. Why do you want to go 6 miles away? It's a nice piece of property. I understand it. And I was happy to buy it when OUC was going to take care of it and going to give it to us. That was one thing for a 15-year contract of the OUC. I understand that. That's totally different. Now it's changed, and now we're going to have to foot the bill ourselves. I understand how we're going to get the money, but we're not going to get all that money until the end of December, what I understand. So I don't know how we're going to pay all this stuff for Hastings Ranch, but we could sure afford this $3.5 million for Stevens Plantation and buy that now, and we'd have a good rec facilities, and we'd have everything we need right here, close to the citizens, not 6 miles away. When you talk about what you're talking out there at Hastings Ranch, this doesn't even compute. The costs and the money that we're going to spend out there is ridiculous. I mean, we're going to get $3 million out of the finance for that one department, Parks and Rec, but we're not going to get the rest of it through. We're going to have to go through the police department. We're going to get $1 million back. Yeah, we'll be $4 million then, but we're still $1.7 million back, and you're going to have to tell me where the other $1.5 million is going to come from. But it looks like to me we're trading green space for green space, and it doesn't make good sense if you got it right here in town and it's close. Why do you want to have your citizens have to drive 6 miles to go play ball, and it's going to be, if you've got right here, you've got Center Lake Ranch that's going to have 3,000 or 4,000 homes, probably not in the next 5 or 10 years. So it abuts to it. I understand we're going to turn it into city. It would be city property. But the problem is, because it's right beside it, and we're not going to build these new homes in the next 5 or 10 years. Just look at Tahokwa. How long we've been now? And go back there and drive through it. All of you 4 council members, drive through there and see how much it's done in the last year and a half. There's not that much. Now, if you look at what they're going to do at Center State, and you look at what you're going to do for Hastings Ranch versus out here, this is a no-brainer. I mean, we're trading green space for green space, and we're going to spend much more money out here at Hastings, 6 miles away, and it's closer right here to the citizens here. So you're going to go ahead and spend $5.7 million, and you're going to let it sit there for probably 5 to 10 years until you get these 3,000 or 4,000 homes in Center Lake. And once you get it filled up, that'll be 5 or 10 years down the road, and you're going to go ahead and give it. Basically, you're going to buy that property for 5.7, and you're giving it to the county. 80 or 90% of the citizens in the county are going to use that. That's fine. I understand it. Let the county pay for it. Let them put a place there. Let them to get some green space. We've got green space right here, and we're going to sell it for $3.5 million, whatever it is. We should buy that right there and be close for the citizens right there now. Not have all of these homes on a 2-lane road right now that we're going to be doing right here in town. That does not compute, does not make good sense for me. I can't see why we're doing that. If the 4 of you want to do that, that's one thing. But if you're going to do it, I'm going back again. Somebody ought to put us in jail. This is wrong. The citizens are not going to like this. I'll tell you, when they find out, and they will find out, they're not going to be happy. That's my comment.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak to this item? Councilman Askew.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. Chuck, I'm open to ideas and everything. I would probably reach out to Dan and just go, what's the tax situation in Stevens Plantation? Are we going to have to continue to pay tax on that, or both of those bonds, once they're paid off, we're done? Or
Well,
if we purchase that property, let's say we go ahead and purchase it, are we tied into Stevens Plantation? Can we do anything we want there?
well, no, well, the assessment issue right now, based on the property, the annual assessments associated with the bonds and the owners, the operating and maintenance for the community development district, that property that encompasses the property, is about $183,000 annually. That's the cost that the DSD is incurring for right now. Now, of course, if the A bonds are released, then a portion of that will go away. I don't have that figure in front of me to tell you how much that is, but there will always be O&M, what's called the O&M, or the assessment from the community development district on the property moving forward.
Gosh, it's my best friend calling me again.
Sorry about that.
You have anything else?
Is there a possibility? Could we get that number? I mean, are we talking property tax? Are we talking?
Well, I mean, I don't have an answer to this right now, but I believe, obviously, if the city bought the property and then it would be owned by a not-for-profit, it would be owned by an entity that does not pay property tax, and therefore the taxes, the ad valorem tax piece would go away. But as you know, the ad valorem tax on this property is relatively low right now because basically the city's been allowing an individual to run cattle on it, so it has an agricultural classification on it. So the tax amount is very low on the 143 acres. The ad valorem tax. It's mostly the assessments associated with the community development district and for the owners and maintenance, the operating and maintenance assessment, and for the debt service on the A bonds.
Mr. Mayor, excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Manzares, it looks like okay, if you're going to pay the cost analysis for Stevens Plantations versus Hastings Ranch, you're going to have to spend somewhere around $400,000 to $500,000 per year. You're going to have to buy a mobile home out there, and a police officer is going to be there. That's a couple of $100,000 right there, 150 anyway. And you're going to have to spend close to $300,000 of mowing, upkeep, and everything that's included, including insurance, so we've got to pay out there, versus you're going to take all of that property, that couple of 100 acres that they've got there at Hastings Ranch, you're going to take that off the toll reel, off the raises right there too. So then the county's not going to get it, and we're not going to get a portion of it either, like are now. So we're going backwards and forwards. This is a no-brainer. You either just should go by that right there or not buy this. I mean, it's pure simple to me. I've asked a lot of questions. I've got a lot of answers, and it just makes it so easy to do out there at Stevens Plantation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper. Would anyone else on the board like to speak to this?
Would.
Councilmember Matheny.
Thank you. I'm muting and unmuting myself today. I'd like to hear from the city manager because we've had these conversations previously about this property inside of Stevens Plantation, and it's not desirable by our Parks and Rec department. You know, there's a myriad of reasons why they don't want that parcel. So I'm wondering if the city manager, or maybe if Ms. Holcamp's on the phone, if they could weigh in on the comparisons.
Yes, Mayor, may I be recognized?
Yes, you may, Mr. Sturgis.
I'll just make a few comments, and then I'll give Stephanie a few seconds to get her thoughts together. But staff does not recommend purchasing Stevens Plantation as a park and rec facility. First, the second thing, although this is a DSD meeting, and later we will talk about Hastings Ranch during the regular council meeting, that property at Hastings Ranch has the potential to generate revenue based on renting the venue and continuing the events that have been going on there for years. So that's where we would, at the next couple of years, we'll be at cost neutral. The cost of the, and again, I don't want to get into Hastings Ranch, this is a DSD meeting, but Stephanie, do you have something to add? Mayor, may she be recognized?
Yes, you may. Ms. Holcamp.
Hi.
Not.
Are you still there? I lost you.
Hi, good evening, Mayor. Holcamp, Parks and Recreation Director. Stephen Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
No. Okay. I'm sorry about that. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes.
Yeah. So with Stevens North in particular, so we buy the green space, but we would still have to invest in the money to bring it up to whether we put ball fields like Mr. Cooper was saying, or it's in the center of town. We would still have to come up with the funds to develop that property, whether we put another facility there, ball fields, multi-purpose fields. So there's still an additional cost to do so. And like,
go ahead, Stephanie.
and like the city manager was stating at Hastings, there is revenue, could be revenue generating right after we buy it. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have anything else to add, Mr. Sturgeon?
No, I do not.
You have any other questions, Ms. Matheny? Mr. Trace.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess my only comments on this, I do somewhat agree with Mr. Cooper's comments about, I'm not in agreement with the other property as well. But there was kind of the mention of two options of the reduction in purchase price. I don't want that to happen. If the bondholders are willing to waive the A bonds, I'm fine with that, which is, it looks like how the amendment is worded, the specific amendment is worded, so I'm fine with that. And then did we get resolution on what's happening with that 5-acre parcel kind of on the southwest side of things? It looks like it was, I had staff sent me the wetland studies that were done. It looks like it was included in one, not included in the other. We had some commercial area on the western edge off Buttinger that was included in one, but not the other. So I just wanted to check in on that.
I'm sorry, Mr. Trace, with regard to the 5-acre piece?
Yeah, there's the 5-acre piece that the city owns that is just now would kind of be landlocked.
Well, we have the ABEX has tendered an offer to buy that piece from the city for $250,000. So we have not vetted that contract completely. Right as of right now, we anticipate that would be an item we would work on over the next couple of council meetings. But they have tendered an offer to the city to buy that 5-acre piece.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Trace, you have anything else?
Good.
Thank you. Mr. Cooper, you want to speak again?
Yes, sir. One more time. All right, Stephanie, it looks like you're going to say, well, we're going to have to go spend some money in Stevens Plantation. We're going to have to go spend, if we're going to put some ball fields, we're going to do the same thing out there at $5.7 million for Hastings. That doesn't compute. That's the same money. If you're moving money from there or here, you got green space here that's close. It's right here in town. We're going to go 6 miles away. We're not going to have any homes that are going to be close to it. In Center Lake is going to be in the next 5 to 10 years before they get those 3,000 or 4,000 homes. You're buying $5.7 million. You're paying it and giving it to the county to use it for all of these county users out there that are going to be 80% going there. How many citizens of St. Cloud are going to drive 6 miles, 5 miles to get there? And they'd rather to be right here in town. I think this is a no-brainer. And yes, we can go and spend the money here and go spend the money there, but it's tit for tat, and the green space is here, and you're going to go spend 6 miles away for green space. That ain't even smart. I tell you again, the 4 council members, all of them should be thrown out. I mean, this is ridiculous. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Cooper, you need to speak for yourself, and I think
I
you're
am
out of
speaking
order
for myself, but I am
council.
speaking to the council members too. And you can speak
You're
to me
out of
the way
order.
you want to too. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Does anyone else want to speak to this item? Then do we have a motion?
Motion to approve the third amendment to the agreement for Stevens North.
We have a motion to approve the amendment for Stevens North. Do I have a second?
I'll second it. Let's get this monkey off our back. There's a lot to this project. I've been working on this thing for 6 years. I want this thing gone, and I want to save our $500,000 we spend every year since 2003 to pay for this thing. So the citizens need to know about that, Mr. Cooper. Thank you.
So once you take, excuse me, once you take that off the tax rolls, then we're not going to have to pay for it. Then it's the city that owns it.
Mayor.
Yes, Mr.
So do your homework, Mr. Cooper. Hastings Ranch pays less than $300 a year for that. It's a pasture field. There's a lot of other facts I'm happy to give you. I'm not that craziest about where it's located, but if you look, let's look 10 years out the road. Let's look 20 years. Let's look at where we're not here. We'll have green space there, and that actually can make some money. Unlike some of the other places we have don't make money, or spending $50 million on a road that we have to pay for and we get no money in return. So I like to look at things as a business. So my idea is probably different from yours. It doesn't make me a bad person or a good person, Mr. Cooper. And I would never say stuff like that in open public about other.
I think you've done that. Thank you very much. You've done that to me in the last 2 or 3 years. So I think I can speak back. Excuse me. But I think it looks like to me, if you're looking for green space, we can go south. There's a lot of green space out there that we can buy a lot cheaper than what you're spending now. And you can do the same thing going south and be closer to all your citizens right here. This is what I'm saying.
Mr. Cooper,
citizens.
I agree with you, but I'd like to call a question. Mr. Brock.
Yes, sir.
Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Member Trace?
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Matheny?
I would just like to say I've never heard council member ask you treat anyone with disrespect since I've been on this council. I would like to say that, and I can't say that for Mr. Cooper. It's a yes for me.
Thank you.
Member Cooper?
Nay.
Member Askew?
Aye.
Chair Blackwell?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1.
Mr. Manzares, is there anything else that you have for us?
No, sir. Thank you, sir. That's the only item on the agenda for the DSD meeting tonight.
With that, we'll call this meeting adjourned. And
Thank
we
you.
will move into our council meeting. How much time do we need to transition?
Mayor, Jay says 5 minutes.
Okay. We'll have a 5-minute break. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.